Okay guys, so this is going to be the typical build for Nautilus, but keep in mind, the only thing that's constant is really this item, Winter's Approach, which is basically the tank version of Manamune for those who are wondering. After that, everything's really situational. Typically, you're going to go for something like Dawn Shroud because it's going to give you all of the stats that you want, and it's going to work quite well with the champion. And then after that, it's going to be so situational that it really just completely depends on the game. You can watch my item guide if you want to know about how all the tank items work and the scenarios to build them in. Now let's get right into the video. Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be showing you guys how to play Nautilus, which is the best solo queue support in Wild Rift currently in my opinion. If you're wondering why that is my opinion, the main reason is you want an engaged champion most of the time if you are playing solo queue on support, because you want to have the agency to make decisions, and you can't really do that on enchanters. Hence why Nautilus is really good. And then Nautilus is just the best engaged support right now. He has absurdly good CC. He's extremely tanky. He's very versatile, and he doesn't really have bad matchups. So that's why Nautilus right now going to be really, really solid. Going right into some of the tips for Nautilus. So you're going to see here the early game is going to be really, really whack. It's going to be a super weird start to the game. We're against former rank 1 player Valhalla, who was rank 1 last season. I'm pretty sure this is Valhalla on the Varus jungle. Believe it or not, Varus jungle is a real strategy that's actually pretty solid, and so they go for the early invade, and the game becomes pretty wacky. So I'm just going to give you guys a few lane phase tips first, since the lane phase is a bit weird here, and then we'll get into, you know, more of the details of the later parts of the game going over this one. So first thing is, you really want to start second ability in most scenarios on Nautilus, which is uncommon. The reason you want to do this is because it allows you to get prio really easily, because your shield is so big in the early game that the enemy cannot contest you level 1. And by doing so, you're going to have complete control over the wave, allowing you to get level 2 before the enemy, and then having really good all-in on level 2. Whereas if you take hook level 1, you're not really going to win a lot of the trades with your hook anyways, because of the fact that you're not going to have access to your other abilities, and your ADC is going to be level 1. So the only time you're going to want to start hook is going to be if your ADC is, let's say, Draven, Lucian, and the enemy are kind of a weak early game ADC, because in that case, you're going to get value out of the level 1 hook, and you're going to win the trade hard. So only basically start hook if you're going to really hard win the trade. If it doesn't seem like a really hard winning level 1, go for your second ability, and then get your first ability level 2. For the max, you're actually going to max the third ability. Now, Fimbulwinter does really well with third ability max, because it's really easy to spam it a lot. Costs a lot of mana, which is why the Fimbulwinter is really useful for that mana usage as well. And that's kind of why we're going for the Fimbulwinter / Winter's Approach. It becomes Fimbulwinter when you upgrade it more. Here, Vayne ends up going a bit too ham there. Kind of not a great start to the lane phase, which is another reason I want to show you guys this gameplay. The really nice thing about having a champion like Nautilus is you only really need one person doing really well. And so here you're going to see we're going to try to see if we can set up our jungler as well. Nothing really ends up happening, so we have to flash out. He does get the kill on one, though. But you only really need one carry or one person doing well to have a lot of success on Nautilus. And then you need to identify who that is and make a lot of plays with them. So here my ADC plays very, very poorly. And we're later going to identify Zed as the main carry, and we're going to play around that. The Zed is corrupt again, so... the enemy jungle and our jungle have both been rank 1 on multiple occasions, so it's a really high elo in terms of the jungles. This is Legend Q again. A lot of Sovereigns in this lobby, a lot of high rank players in this lobby. So it's a pretty high quality game. You're going to see how we can utilize roaming. We go around the back there to try to catch him out and see if we can end up catching him out with our Zed. We think he's probably in that bush somewhere, or that he's going to be somewhere, because we obviously saw Varus on this vision. He's looking for a weird invade. He's looking for a funky play. And so that's exactly why we end up going and setting our teammate up here. And so again, notice how we're kind of setting up that Zed for, you know, some amount of success. And then we end up just going on to the Varus here and getting the kill there. Vayne, unfortunately, again, not doing very well. Isn't really aware there. Totally could have survived. I'm not here to complain about a Vayne. You know, it's fine. But sometimes when you do end up making these roam opportunities, when you see the angles, your ADC is going to do dumb stuff like that. And he's going to fall behind. And that's just the reality of playing around your carry when it's not your ADC. And that's something you kind of just have to deal with. To alleviate this issue, though, you can definitely still help them push out the waves when you can, and then roam when there's no wave. So there we had a unique scenario. We saw an opportunity to roam even despite a wave being there, but a lot of times you're going to want to help push that wave and then rotate afterwards in order to not allow your ADC to you know, get caught in that type of thing. So those are some of the main things to understand kind of on Nautilus in the early game. And then in the lane phase, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to play around level diffs really hard. So you're going to use Relic Shield and that second ability at level 1 to really get a lot of prio early on in the game. And then when you have that prio, once you get a level and say you're level 2, which typically comes from the second minion of the first minion of the second minion wave, will give you level 2. Once you get that level 2 before your opponents, you go for the all-in onto them. Very often you can flash onto them, that type of thing. Again, we get engaged on here, so we try to peel for our teammate with our ultimate. Look at that peel that my champion has. Like, perfect peel there. Really, really well played here by me. Unfortunately, Varus just kills him anyway, which is kind of funny. But you can see how we perfectly use our ultimate to knock up 2 people. We end up stunning hooking the Varus as well, so that they really didn't have a way to get onto the Vayne, but unfortunately the Varus got a lot of damage at the end there and ends up killing him. But you can see, again, you have that really good peel, so you can protect your teammate really well. And I know I use a lot of terminology that some people don't know, so to clarify, peel basically means protecting your teammate. Using CC or other means to get the opponents off your teammates, that's peel. So if you're wondering what that is, that's what that is. We end up getting the hook onto the Varus. We didn't need to flash there, but, you know, it's fine. We flash. And again, notice how we rotate with our jungler on the objective, because that's obviously the best opportunity for us to kind of win the game, playing around that jungle. So we get a nice rotation after pushing out the wave with our Vayne, or after the Vayne died, I guess. Typically we'd want to push out the wave with the Vayne, but since they died, you know, we rotate straight away. And then we end up getting a bit of an advantage there because, again, that support rotation that we're able to get. We get the ultimate onto Ashe, not really necessary. It is what it is. I don't mind wasting that there, just seeing if we can get the pick on her, because it means we're probably going to get the objective, and then we go and camp again with our Zed. Notice how we're always paying attention to that one good player. And trust me, I understand sometimes you're not going to have any good players, and it's going to be unfortunate. But Nautilus still does a lot of damage. He's very tanky, and he has the ability to set up people. So when you don't really have anyone doing well on Nautilus, a thing you can do is just try to create an advantage at some part of the map. You want to create a numbers advantage. So say that the enemy are going for second dragon, right? Try to get one of your teammates to go bot lane with you, like as they're on the top lane dragon, and then try to trade a turret. Or when you see the enemy jungle on one side of the map, go to the other side and try to make a play there. Try to make a play with your jungle, these types of things. These are all the types of things you can do to create advantages even when you are behind. So again, I'm just giving a lot of general Nautilus tips here because that's just kind of what the video is for. This gameplay specific is just to facilitate, you know, a little bit of discussion on that. Mostly just giving you guys these general tips though. So again here, not normal that I'm going to catch a wave before I have my relic shield completed, but in this situation, my top laner rotated and I didn't want our turret losing all those minions, so I end up going for that wave. Typically, you're going to want to obviously finish your relic shield and then go for waves solo if you need to, otherwise you don't really want to. And then notice how I'm using my abilities on cooldown. Whenever I hook a wall, I just third ability right after because of the fact that I have the mana item, the Fimbulwinter, and so I'm trying to stack that up. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then, yeah, keep in mind you can use your first ability and then your third ability as your first ability is still going off. So basically you can, like, first ability onto a wall and then third ability. I missed the wall there because I suck, I guess. But you can third ability and then the third ability will go where you originally put it, not where you're hooking to, if that makes sense. Another thing to keep in mind, Nautilus is extremely important to auto attack reset on. If you auto attack and then click your second ability and auto attack, you get a faster second auto attack. If you auto attack, or you want to also like buffer abilities with Nautilus. So as you're using your first ability, you want to use your third ability right after, as I said. Another type of combo you're going to do, maybe you're going to hook someone, you're going to auto attack, second ability, auto attack, and then third ability immediately as that second auto attack's going off, in order to maximize damage and minimize kind of the input time on your abilities. So again, I know this might not all make perfect sense here, but for those that do understand what I mean, that's a way to optimize a bit. If you don't understand what I mean, you're still going to get a lot of value out of this champion, even without that. But yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. You can go and practice tool and kind of practice that, just trying to get your abilities off a little bit quicker, because that can really maximize your damage, which is really important. And then again, notice here, we're just going around using our tier stacks, you know, by just using our ability and just permanently making plays with our jungle. Again, we get a nice hook onto the Ashe, blowing her flash there. We end up ulting the Varus to zone for our teammates. So again, a lot of times you can use your CC just to zone. Notice how I'm just putting myself in front of the, you know, enemy damage dealers. They can't really get to my backline. Even if they deal a bunch of damage onto me, I use the Gargoyle and my W to be very tanky. I missed another hook on the wall because I'm just faker like that. And we're able to get ourselves in a really good position where our team can make a lot of plays because of the space we created for them. And of course, you know, really good carrying by my jungle. Corrupt is pretty cracked at the game. Again, this gameplay, not the most eventful ever. It's a rather short gameplay. I just wanted to kind of give you guys, again, a lot of these general tips and show you guys how to play this champion, talk about it, definitely been one of my two go-to picks. This and Thresh are my go-to support picks right now. Just really good engaged champions, very good for carrying games on the support role. Obviously, if you're duo queue, you can play a champion like Lulu, like, you know, Yuumi, whatever, Emilio. But I don't really recommend that in solo queue because you're just going to be so reliant on your ADC. Because these champions don't even work that well with a lot of carry junglers. Some junglers do work well with it, depends on the jungler. Like Lulu is good with, for example, Nyla. But a lot of them just don't work that well. And so it's not as synergistic with a lot of comps as well. So that's just a couple things to kind of keep in mind. Again, we get the ultimate onto the Varus there. We end up going on to him. Trying to kill him here. I believe I end up killing him, but we do die here. So a bit of an overextension on our part. But at least we're able to get the kill onto that Varus to trade something back. And our team's able to do a little bit on the bottom side. I think Vayne wins this. Yeah, Vayne wins this. Shout out to Vayne there. Good job. And that's a nice thing too. A lot of times, like what a late game champion wants to do when they fall behind early game is just farm on a side lane by themselves. Like they don't really need you there. It depends on the situation. It definitely depends on the situation. But most of the time, it's going to be really nice when you just leave them alone. You make a bunch of plays. You get someone else ahead, and now they have time to scale up. So the Vayne can go on the side and scale up a bit, can get some value somewhere else, and then come into a team fight later, hopefully being more useful. Obviously, this doesn't always happen. Sometimes they end up, you know, just inting. But that's the ideal world that we would hope to live in, which obviously is very often not the case. Another couple things to kind of keep in mind, like the range that your first ability can like clip walls at like a bigger range than it can clip champions. So it's sometimes weird when you're trying to hook and you'll accidentally hook a wall. It's just something to keep in mind. Not really anything specific that you're going to be able to do about it. Just something to keep in mind. It's a bit of a weird range sometimes with how it hits walls. So it's something you just get used to with time on Nautilus, but he's definitely a bit of an awkward, clunky champion and takes some time to sort of get used to. But when you're in team fights, the main thing you want to keep in mind is really just playing around your passive auto attacks, because obviously if you auto attack a champion, you can root them, or every so often you'll be able to root them, and this works once per every, like the cooldown only resets per champion. So if there's 5 champions in front of you, you can auto attack root the first one, auto attack root the second one, auto attack root the third one, and so on. But if you auto attack and root, say, the Varus, and then you auto him right after, you're not going to root him twice. You're only going to root him once. And so you really, in a lot of team fights, want to just apply your auto attacks to everyone. So you want to, like, you hook on someone, you auto them, maybe you use your abilities, whatever. Then you just walk on to the next person in the fight, you auto them. Then you walk on to someone else, you auto them. And you just keeping track of who you have and have not autoed in like a specific period of time. And then I don't know the exact cooldown, but if you haven't autoed someone for a little bit, you'll be able to auto them again and they'll get rooted again. And so that absurd amount of CC is why Nautilus is so broken. Like, that is probably, it might be the best passive in the game. Let me know what you guys think might be a better passive. If you can think of any better passives than that, let me know. But honestly, I think that might straight up be the best passive in the game. Here, the enemy, they kind of overextend. And so you're going to see here the strength of Nautilus in terms of stalling. So here, again, there's 3v5. They're obviously going to start the Baron. And so you're just going to see my tankiness is able to stall for quite a while. We're able to get that pick onto the Leona there. We end up getting the hook onto the Ashe as well. And the enemy are just completely screwed here. And so notice how we're literally able to 3v5 that fight. Obviously, a big reason we 3v5 that fight is because Corrupt is the GOAT on Zed. So shout out to Corrupt. But you can see the amount of carry potential you can have by setting up whoever your carry is, right? You have really good engage. You can really set them up very well. And yes, I know you guys are usually not going to have Corrupt, but you're also usually not going to have last season's rank 1 jungler on your enemy team at the same time. So keep in mind who we're doing against. The enemy ADC, I believe this game is a really high elo player. Yeah, I think it's Sean this game. So he's a challenger player. And then I forget some of the other players. I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of their sovereigns on the enemy team apart from their jungler. But this game was like 3 days ago, so I forget exactly who the enemy team was. But they're quite high elo players, and so that's just what I want to point out. Obviously, it's going to be a bit different in a lower elo, but it's going to function very similarly because you're still going to oftentimes have at least one person doing well. I know we all have the dreaded 3 lanes lose game, but let's be real. More often than not, you're going to have at least one person who's at least at a little bit of an advantage. Like you're going to have a top laner. Maybe they're not stomping lane, but they're up like 500 gold. Or maybe your mid's doing well or your jungle. You're going to have usually someone who's at least outperforming their counterpart. And that's what you're looking for. and then you play around them as I played around my Zed here. And my Zed obviously did a lot on his own because he's really, really good. But a lot of that lead that he's able to get as well is furthered by the fact that we go for him. And then look at the hook flash there. I want to point that out. You can indeed use your first ability and then flash right after in order to extend the range and extend the quickness of, or reduce the quickness, increase the quickness. I can't talk. You can increase the speed at which you are able to hook them. And so we're going to be able to end very smoothly there. Just wanted to give you guys that general insight onto how to play the best solo queue support in the game, everything like that. And then I'll show you guys the end here to show you guys who was on the enemy team real quick. So, okay, this guy, their mid laner is a very good Sovereign mid laner. Their jungler is a Grandmaster player. He's a jungle main, so he was auto-filled. Sean is Challenger. I don't know who their top laner is. I know my mid is Sovereign and my jungle is Sovereign. So just pointing it out again, Legend Q, there were at least 5 Sovereigns in this game, and everyone was Grandmaster peak or higher. So pretty high quality games as per usual in the Legendary ranked, which is always nice. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.